What's going on, y'all? Bud Elliott here of the Knollcast, and we are what is it about 9:40 after a big time win for Florida State over Pitt. Was it pretty? It was not. Was it a win? It was. All right, so I guess we got to set the table for this. First, we're going to thank our sponsors. Prize Picks, home field apparel, promo code Knollcast on both. You should use it. The legendary team, Charlie Park Rooftop, Congruity, Louisiana Hot Sauce. Instant reaction, as always, is basically just our instant reaction. We are reacting instantly. We'll go back, we'll rewatch the film. We'll probably have some different takes after. But ultimately, I think if you're an FSU fan, you have to feel pretty good about what you saw, right? Relative to what you had on the field. Now, here's the thing. I talked to my dad, and we were chatting. And the point was, just because you have a number 4 ranking doesn't mean your players are actually any better than they actually are. Just because you haven't lost yet doesn't mean that your players are better, right? If we just use our eyes, we can see that this is a good football team. It's a very good football team. If you weren't a very good football team and you were down Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman, right? Kentron's still not healthy. Destin Hill clearly still not fully healthy. A lot of guys dealing with stuff. Mo Smith obviously pretty banged up still. No Rob Scott. A lot of dudes injured. Like, if you weren't a really good football team, you don't still find a way to put up 501 yards and win this thing 24-7. You don't find a way to hold Pitt to just a touchdown. Now, we can talk. Did they move it better than just 7 points would imply? Yeah, I think they did, actually. But at the end of the day, Florida State's a really good football team. You guys know my opinion on this. I don't think that they look or play like a national championship team. I don't think they have that level of talent. I do think they play like a team that on most days looks like the best team in the conference. And you know what? They're going to get a chance to prove that and earn that, because Florida State is going to the ACC title game. 7-0. Look, next week's game against Miami means a whole lot. It's a huge rivalry. But your ticket to Charlotte, that was sort of like the baseline goal I think we had with this team. That ticket is punched. You are going to play for the ACC title. Who will you play? Shoot, probably Louisville at this point, if I had to guess. But maybe by the end of the night, we'll actually know. That's an important goal for this program, to get back and actually win your league and contend to win your league. It was, it's a tough one, right? Like, we knew that unless Pitt came out and quit, which I didn't think they would do, but you had to broach the possibility of it simply because of the comments that Narduzzi had made after the Irish blew out Pitt. But if Pitt didn't quit, you figured they would grow that grass as long as they could. It was a little long, not crazy. And you thought they would grab like crazy. You thought they'd play really hard, be really physical, and they would bring their own, they would have the energy. We talk about how you get 12 versions of a team every year. It's not going to be the same version every week. This was probably not your best offensive version. I thought it was a pretty solid defensive version. And yet, I mean, if you think about this, how much more can you reasonably ask out of the Noles, for a team that doesn't have Johnny and Keon? Like, your offensive line is not a good offensive line. It's fine, honestly, by like ACC standards. But if we're being honest, like, we know that if it went up against a really good defensive line, it would be in trouble. They don't have a lot of guys, if any, on the offensive line who are going to play pro ball. Did any of the receivers you saw today for FSU, are they going to go play pro ball? I don't know. Maybe at some point down the line. But like this is a good win for who you had on the field, for where the program is at right now. You know, different guys chipping in at different times. I thought Jordan took care of the ball pretty well. I mean, had one throw that was probably ill advised, but other than that, I thought he did an exceptional job managing the offense. I thought he made some big time throws. He kept it where his guys could catch it. That was one of the better games that I've seen him play when you factor in, like, Pitt is not a terrible defense. It's not good or not great, but it's a decent defense. I thought Jordan was really good today. I was pretty impressed by this. Like this team, it's kind of an easy team to root for when you recognize what they are, as opposed to being negative because they're not what you want them to be. Okay. And I don't think that was really ever realistic with this football team, with the type of talent that you have on there. Let's start appreciating this team for what it is. Like that's just, it's a good team. I think it's a team that still has a really good shot to make the college football playoff. Okay. And once you get there, who knows? But like this is good. All right. Sorry, looking at the chat here. Okay, just a couple things to look here. Look, would I rest my starters against North Alabama regardless of Miami? No, I mean like that senior day. I don't know any coaches that like just want to mass rest starters. Honestly, I don't think it's. There's a lot of reasons you don't do that. Number one, it's a really bad look to do it because people are coming to these games to see you play, and they're spending their money. And for some folks, like the North Alabama game, is probably the game that they can best afford to get to, and that just really sucks if you just happen to sit all your starters for that game. And some guy takes his son up there or daughter, or mom does, and all of a sudden you don't have your starters. I don't think they'll do that. Now, if some guys are banged, yeah, for sure. But a lot of guys in this team are banged right now. There's not a whole lot of dudes who are 100% healthy, obviously, but they do have more injuries on offense than defense. That is really pretty clear. I think I went 34-13 on the prediction. Something like that. I didn't think FSU was going to score a whole lot of points this week, but you go out there, honestly, like you're a score away from covering this game, which is kind of remarkable. I thought Ja'Kai Douglas gave you a really nice game on offense. I mean, it is useful to have a guy who's been in the system before, and just he has years and time in this system, right? Douglas is the one dude who Jordan Travis started going to when everything else wasn't working there for a time. I thought that was pretty key. And eventually this offense will hit home runs. The Morlock play, look, it's a nice first down, and then Pitt just botches the tackle. So you'll take it. Trey Benson, that's why you keep handing the guy the ball, because eventually he'll probably pop one. And he did, right? I thought Rodney Hill ran extremely hard, both in the pass game and also in the run game. Now, you did allow 11 tackles for loss on 74 snaps. I just think that's what you are, right? Like this is not an elite offensive line. I don't think it's really that much different than it was a month ago or 6 weeks ago. Against good defenses, I would expect it to struggle. You're going to have to win one-on-ones on the outside. If you didn't have Keon and Johnny on this team, I don't think they would be the ACC favorite, right? Like the team that played today overall played well relative to opponent. To go into Pitt and outgain them by like 200 yards and put up 500 is solid. Obviously, a lot of teams can't do that. A lot of teams can't handle their business and win as a big favorite. But FSU did. And I think it is a well-coached football team, a team that is still playing really hard, and a team that has a chance to win the ACC. And if things break right, make it to the playoff. That's important. Now, defensively, I thought it was a pretty good effort overall, honestly. Um, Couple things that they need to clean up. Obviously, some of the safety stuff. You, you had some critical missed tackles that allowed for some of the explosives. Greedy, or not greedy, excuse me. Fentrell, gets beat, and then does like the awesome punch out there. This game could have gone differently. I think maybe if Pitt believes early on, who knows? But it didn't. And drives on the day, Pitt had what? A drive for 82. A drive. I mean, it was basically just, it was just that. Then you have a 64-yard touchdown drive for Pitt. Okay. And then after that, I mean, before the half, 14 yards on 6 plays. Okay. Nothing. 5 for 21. I thought it was ridiculous that the announcers were talking about how Pitt is really finding something with the power run game on a 2-minute drive. Like the hell they are. That FSU's giving them this. That they're playing light box here because you're about to go to the half. And of course, that didn't continue at all. FSU came out, stopped the run. I mean, immediately, just the 4 defensive drives out of the half were just right back to what you had prior. 4 for -1, 5 for 5, 4 for 14, 8 for 21, and a pick. Like that's kind of where you want it. Okay. And then FSU goes on 4 real drives, 75 touchdown, 61 field goal, 80 touchdown, 85 touchdown. I mean, that's your ball game right there. The defense kept getting you stops overall, and the offense found a way to hit some explosives. And I just don't think, unless you're a really good defense, that you're going to keep this thing bottled up for 4 quarters. Now, you can make the argument that without Johnny and Keon, certainly it's more likely. That's possible. But, 333, like yardage allowed. Okay, it could have been more dominant yardage wise. Sure. Pitt didn't score in the second half though, right? There were a whole lot of Pitt plays that I'll just call like non-competitive plays, really. And if you look at it, I mean, you go up 24-7 with 16 minutes left in the ball game. Basically everything after that. So Pitt had like 75 yards after that. I know that's not officially garbage time, and you've certainly blown leads before under the staff and others. But in my mind, because of how Pitt's offense operates, it sort of did feel like garbage time to me. So I think you got to be pretty happy with this result today, given who you had and given who you don't have. Taking a look here, by the way, some interesting things going on. I didn't get to see how Florida, how that went down, but I did see. I did see that they lost, so that's curious. Wow, USC's touchdown! The 4th and 1 touchdown from USC tonight is absolutely insane. Cool to see Conrad Hussey get the interception there. I'm sure FSU will turn that into some kind of recruiting graphic about how they do or do not play freshmen. Speaking of teams that like to brag about playing freshmen, Miami is losing to NC State 10-6 at the half. 10-6. Tyler Van Dyke is 9 of 20. So we'll see how that goes, right? Could be interesting. I would appreciate this team, right? That's sort of the message I want to have here. I go through my group texts, and it's a lot of like, oh my God, if you play like a really, really good, defense, what's going to happen? Like, it's the same offensive line we've seen for weeks, right? Like, what? It's the same team we've seen for weeks. Why are we expecting drastically different results? They're the same players. They're just actually a little more beat up than they normally would be, and some of the guys aren't available. It kind of just is what it is. I'm not expecting this team, for the most part, to unlock a different level of play. We have 9 games of football with these dudes. This is a good football team. If you told me they're like the 3rd best team in the country, I'd buy it. If you told me they're like the 9th best team in the country, I'd buy that too. Honestly, I think there's a large sort of mismatch of teams that are right in that range. I just can't get with the negativity. I'm. By the way, you have some wins today that are going to look a little better for you on the schedule. Now UF lost, obviously, but Louisville managed to win. If you play them in the ACC Championship and beat them, that's going to be a pretty nice win for you, assuming that they don't lose to Kentucky or to Miami. Clemson beat Notre Dame. I do think that helps the league, right? Like your win at Clemson now looks a little better because Notre Dame people were talking about New Year's Six Bowl about 24 hours ago, and obviously not anymore. Will they be talking about that? So, yeah, I'm not worried about you in the polls at all, especially not after you had the whole thing with Ohio State today, where they're struggling with a Rutgers team that I don't think is that much better than Pitt. Honestly, they just have played a bunch of nobodies. So, pretty solid day. All right, let's go through some of these. Yeah, exactly, Ricardo. We're 2 years removed from Jacksonville State. Enjoy this team, warts and all. Yeah, that's my thought, man. And enjoy it. Dart Wicks, his offense is a whole lot of explosive plays or nothing. Got to recruit and develop the O-line better in the future. Yeah, exactly. I don't know, man. This could be interesting. Looking through the chat here some more. Let's get Nolecast notification gang. We do roll pretty deep. Oh, let's talk the biscuit play. I thought that was it was a good time to break it out, and it's just we talked about this after the bowl game, right? This works because of how big Biscuit is, right? He lines up like a tackle, and he's so big, and he gets in his stance quickly, and they go sugar huddle, right, or tempo out of it, and you line up your tackle over there in the bunch set, and Biscuit, like the tackle is going to look out of place, but Biscuit doesn't look out of place at tackle, and that's why it works, because you really only need the linebackers to just forget about him or just not have it click for just a very short period of time. And then you got him. And they did. And they hit it. And I just thought that was a backbreaker play for those guys. Just 100% backbreaker. So, yeah, Cornelius Jones in the chat says, I thought Biscuit was an offensive tackle running. Yeah, we already talked about Ja'Kai Douglas, just going over some stuff here. Do I think we'll get a night game next weekend? Possibly. We will see. Ole Miss won today, and Georgia did as well. Let me see here. LSU's offense looking like world beaters. Yeah, they do. Bama just got to stop. So people are mad about Norvell's fourth down decisions. You guys are just at this point, you're idiots for complaining about that. Norvell routinely scores in the extremely high percentile of the correct decisions on fourth downs, and the game is coming to him. It's not going away from what he's doing. The rest of the sport is coming to meet Mike and Dan, Lanning, where they are. So I don't know. I don't suffer fools well at times, and that's just silly nonsense. Just going through the chat here. I don't think FSU is going to drop a place for winning by 17 on the road when you have Ohio State struggling with Rutgers. So Jordan proved today doesn't need to be in the Heisman talk. I disagree. I thought he played extremely well. I mean, what did he throw for? 360 and a touchdown? Added some rushing yards. I think that's just silly. Of course, he's in the Heisman talk. Is he going to win it? No, not really. Should Nick Saban have called Adam Fuller for advice on how to contain Jaden Daniels and LSU's offense? Yeah, I mean, look, FSU's number against LSU is going to look pretty impressive, man. So interesting there. What else do we got to go with here? Any injury updates on Verse or Travis? No, I think Travis is fine. Jordan always gets banged up. He didn't even go down. So, yeah, I'm not worried about that. I guess Herbie said that he is that they're going to be in Athens next week. Yeah, I mean, look, realistically, that's a better game than FSU Miami. So I don't particularly blame them. Oh man, Miami's missing some field goals here. That is a shame. So what else? Oh, an unofficial announcement. Okay, they said on the broadcast. I didn't have the sound on for the game Herbie was doing. So whatever game that was, guys, yeah, like I think Jordan has a really good chance to get invited to New York. Honestly, I mean there's sort of a last man standing element to this thing too. Now, granted, depending on how USC and Washington do, it's going to be interesting. But I'm very interested to see how this goes. Also, I mean, if Daniels loses tonight, I don't think he can seriously win the Heisman. Right? And think about it. 3-loss guy winning the Heisman, maybe like his numbers are going to be good, but I mean, Bama's driving right now. LSU has not had many stops tonight, so we'll see. Travis taking unnecessary hits and sacks. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think, I think Jordan's a good college quarterback. We can talk about his draft stuff later if we want to, but I think he's a good college quarterback. I do. What else do we want to go with here? I thought Fisk was pretty important today. You knew the interior of that Pitt offensive line were not very good. It's really important to take advantage of that. And Fisk did. I thought that was big. LSU winning the West would be good for FSU. Yeah, I no doubt. Because if they drop another game, then clearly, like, because they easily could lose to A&M, right? Yeah, Fisk was really important. I thought Peyton played pretty well, with the exception of the missed tackle, but it looked like he was causing a lot of chaos. So, yeah, man. Deloach again came in really nice as a blitzer, totally. But they got the broadcast got him Deloach one time for guessing wrong, and I get that, but his work as a blitzer was impressive. There ain't no doubt. So, do you think we get J-Dub and Keon back for Miami? I don't know. Possibly. Miami's probably another game where your defense is going to have to play real well, because Miami's offensive line, they'll give you guys problems. They will absolutely give you problems. There's no doubt. I don't know how well you can block Miami's defensive line. I think that, I don't know. There's some matchups there that you like, but maybe not a lot. I think you like Miami more in those matchups, line wise. We'll see. Miami. Here's the other thing on this. I mean, Van Dyke is 10 of 21 for 87. Now, they'll play better against FSU than they will against NC State. But there may be something wrong with Van Dyke. We'll talk more about this week. We'll have a Miami guest on and whatnot. And touchdown Alabama again. That was just too easy. I don't know if they're going to score every drive from here on out, but I would kind of think so. Yeah, so like I don't know if we're going to get that version of Tyler Van Dyke either, but if Van Dyke is actually, like, if he's got the whole knee thing and the hand thing, like, this may just be what he is. I don't know. Possibly. We'll see. Guys, that's pretty much it, I think, for the instant. Any additional questions we have here, hit them. I'll hang around for another minute or two. Look forward to getting Graham, since he was boots on the ground for us this week. But you put up 500 yards without Johnny, without Keon, with Destin clearly banged up, Kentron banged. I mean, did you even see Span? A lot of guys banged. So that is a pretty good offensive effort against a reasonably decent Pitt defense that played hard. I think you got to be pretty happy with that. I will see you guys come Monday. Take care, y'all.